Yeah, my blonde wig. Real quick, just so you see what I really, look like. I just put this wig on because I feel like, I don't know, this is what I would look like if I had hair. I like it. Anyway, I just, I know I was going to finish the other vlog about Tampa and everything. It got interrupted as I was just expressing all my various experience and opinions about, you know, the Tampa Bay area. But right now, I just feel like being even more personal because I was just talking to my aunt on the phone, and she lives in New Jersey, very far away. And I talked to her, So sometimes, you know, sometimes I don't want to talk to her because she's even older than me. Yeah, I turned 54 this month. I'm 54 years old. I don't know. Fuck it. Fuck the hair. Do I look 54? You see the wig? I have the long haired wig. I have the long brown haired wig. And I have, this is what I look like. See all the gray? A lot of gray. There's a lot of, see all the gray? Look at all that gray. And that's proof that I'm 54. Or if you can't tell that I'm 54, because I don't have like a lot of wrinkles. I have these lines. That's some proof too. I have the sad lines. But I mean, when I put on my wig and my makeup, I can make myself look really, younger, right? I can make myself look younger. And I got that baby face. See? I'm so young. Whatever. I don't feel young. Um, I want to talk about aging a bit. I was writing a lot of articles and journals and poetry about aging definitely the past 3 years. I wrote a lot about aging um, because 4 years ago when I was turning 50, I was so excited. I mean, it was like a milestone, like a really, big deal to me, the big 50. I mean, even 40 wasn't that big of a deal. So I was really like, I mean, I had been talking about it from the time I was 47, 48. I'm going to be 50. Oh my God, I'm going to be 50. It was a big deal. But after 50, like the past 3 years, all I did for the past 3 years, and not all I did, but a lot of my thoughts were regarding the aging thing because my mother died at 60, and some people thought that she committed suicide, and I didn't know. I really don't know. I said I don't think it really was suicide. I don't really think it was suicide, but I mean, she had attempted suicide before, just like I have. We have mental problems. Some of the women in my family had mental problems, just like some of the men in my family had alcoholic problems. We had some problems, and so nobody was really 100% sure whether it was suicide or whether it was just her time to go. We don't know. Nobody really knows. And but since she died at 60, and 60 is not young, but it's definitely not the typical age. I mean, it's not a typical age. I mean, sure, we cry if someone dies in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. We're like, God, that is young. We cry. But 60 is one of those ages. It's like, why 60? Like, if you made it that far, why didn't you just go all the way to 75 or 85, which is more typical, right? That 75 and 85 is more typical. We hear more or we feel better if someone's 75 or 85 or older. We're just like, okay, well they had the full life. That's what we say because that's typical. You're typically going to get 75 or 85. If you get more, that's better than typical, right? Well, supposedly. Supposedly. It's just a very weird conversation. That I mean, in the Bible, they talk about people living 500 years. Well, I don't know. Methuselah. I don't even know the names. So and so lived 300, 400, 700 years. And we're like, what? How? Like, it's like, like the people who don't believe that Mary was a virgin. Yeah. How could she be a virgin and have a baby? Because God. That's why they don't get God at all. That God is beyond their comprehension. They're stuck on the biologists and the scientists. God does not compute to them. Um, but that's okay. This isn't about God right now. Me and God are cool. I'm not talking about God today. I heard about Pope Francis. See, he was old. I mean, he was past 75. See, so some of us Catholics, we didn't cry about Pope Francis, not because, it's not sad that we don't get to see him anymore or whatever, but because he got past that 75 point. See, once you get past that 75 point, there's no point in crying about it. They got their full life. We can say it was definitely their time, you know. But if you're before 75, so my mom was at 60 when she went, she was still considered young. See, she was still considered young because that's not really considered a full life. And that's why, because I was, you know, 41 when 41, dealing with the fact that I had no parents. And there's other people who have, you know, been orphaned at a much younger age than 40 or 41. At least I had her for 40 years. At least I had my mother for 40 years. But it's weird, you know. It's weird. The orphan thing is a weird thing no matter what age you are, whether you're a child or whether you're, grown up. It's a weird thing. And also the age thing is a weird thing. Um, you know, I mean, I kept pondering that 60 years old and she was gone. 60 years old. If I mean, she retired at 50. I think, yeah, I think that's when her retirement started. She retired at 50, which is very fortunate. So she got 10 years to enjoy her retirement. Whether she enjoyed it or not, I don't know. I don't think she enjoyed it as much as she put on, but I mean, she did get at least 10 years to enjoy retirement, whatever she could enjoy of it. But most of the time, people are saying, well, you don't get to retire till you're 65 now, and some people want to say you don't get to retire till you're 70. What? You're you, you're lucky if you get to 60 or 70. Not that's not the majority of people don't always get to be 60 and 70. So you're gonna say, well, you don't get to retire till 60 or 70? What? I'm lucky in the way that I did not have a 401k. I did not have an inheritance from, wealthy parents. I have been a minimum wage worker most of my life. But I was lucky because I started soon. I started at 15. And even though it was just my minimum wage life, I put in my 35 years, quick. So when I was dubbed crazy, bipolar and all my other diagnosis, and I got my disability, I got my retirement, and I guess that was lucky. I was very lucky to be able to retire early. Although, let me tell you, retirement at a young age, like me, young, being in your 40s or 50s and getting on retirement, is very difficult when you don't have an inheritance or when you don't have your 401k and all you're living on is social security and you're only in your 40s and 50s. It's not all that. I mean, everyone's like, oh my God, what makes you so lucky that you got to retire so early? Let's think about the word lucky. First of all, in your 40s and 50s, anybody who's in their 30s or younger thinks of you as old. The only people who think of you as young are the people who are in their 60s and 70s. Besides that, everybody thinks you're old. But you only have that little monthly check, just like the old people. And yet, you're not allowed to go live with the old people unless by some miracle, like winning the lottery, your name gets chosen out of a hat and you get to be in one of those, old folk buildings that is based on your income. If your name gets picked out of a hat, you might get lucky enough to live there. Um, But besides that, you know, you have the same little check that the old people do, but with the stress, which is why the gray hairs happen, but with the stress of not knowing where you're gonna fucking live. Mm. Yeah, you have a check, and yeah, you retired early, but guess what? Huh, you're only 2 hairs away from living on the sidewalk. Mm. Daily, that stress. And so this is why I titled this video Afraid. I have been a very brave person, a very brave person. I was very brave. And the thing about courage is there's a fine line between courage and stupidity. Some people thought that I was a complete effing idiot, that I was so stupid because I was brave. They're not wrong, but they're not right. You see, I wasn't trying to be brave. I wasn't like, it wasn't my life's purpose and mission. Like, you know what I'm going to do with my life? I'm going to be brave. No, I wasn't trying to be brave. I was just trying to be me based on my personality, my blueprint of me from the family that I was raised from. They were hardworking and brave people. And I was trying to follow that heritage. Um, I did a lot of brave shit. I mean, in high school, I was very shy. I was a little Catholic virgin. I was scared of people. I was scared of, but I pretended. I was brave enough to pretend that I wasn't shy. I took drama class and I learned to act like an extrovert. I can do it. And then reading that little kid's book, I think I can, I think I can. I was brave enough to take algebra 6 times just so I could pass the freaking class. I was brave enough to do it. I was brave enough to go to college, even though I was scared. I felt stupid. I didn't know if I could pass. I didn't know if I was going to get a job. I All I knew is I had to sign a bunch of papers, and now I owe so much freaking money for a piece of paper that I don't even use, and I can't even claim bankruptcy on it because it's federal. Was that brave or was that stupid? I was proud of it, so I think it was brave. I was proud of it. Maybe it was stupid. Maybe it was, but I was proud of it. You know how people don't think? They think I was partying with the fucking sorority. I wasn't partying with the sorority. I was changing diapers on a 2-year-old. Well, after I changed the diapers on a 2-year-old, my nose was in an algebra book or reading Shakespeare's fucking Macbeth. It was hard. It was hard. I didn't have fancy Apple phone and fancy Apple computer, fancy this or I had a used car, a 2-year-old kid, a shitty apartment, paying the fucking bills, doing the fucking laundry, cleaning the fucking house, making sure I was taking my EBT card to the Winn-Dixie, and I was still going to school, even if people thought I was stupid, so I could get a piece of paper that was going to be meaningless and only cause me debt and a low credit score. Was it brave or was it stupid? All right, so then I did that. Then my 30s are a blur, complete blur. My 30s. Why? Because I was like in a fucking shock coma. I was in a shock coma in my 30s after I graduated college. Why? Couldn't find the job that I thought was going to pay for everything. No, I was back at working at Burger King for minimum wage. What? Couldn't make the rent and car payment. Lost my kid. He was in foster care, and then I had to sign the adoption papers. I couldn't afford the car or the rent, so how the hell was I supposed to afford the kid? This is my reward for graduating college? A broken heart and debt? Was that brave? Was it brave that I tromped around on the Greyhound, going from state to state looking for some kind of saving grace? Was that brave? Or was that stupid? What else was I supposed to do? Do something stupid and just go to jail? I did. I got arrested for trespassing. I was in jail for it's a misdemeanor. I don't even think it's on my record. I don't even think it shows up on my record. And when I was there, I didn't even want to leave. It took a very kind-hearted girl who probably was in there also for a misdemeanor. She said to me, "What are you doing in here?" I said, I was trespassing. I got lost. I didn't even know where I was." "You were trespassing? How long have you been here?" I said, "Oh, I've been here about 3 months." She said, "You shouldn't be in here. You should have been out of here by now. You need to talk to the people. Why aren't you asking them why you're still here?" I said, "I ain't got nowhere to go." That's why it's relevant to me that the police officer here in Pinellas County told me right to my face. He said, "Look, jail is not a homeless shelter." Because when I was in Texas, that was a long time ago. I was in my 30s when I went to jail in Texas. Misdemeanor trespassing. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave because I I was homeless and lost and scared. A college degree, and I was homeless and lost. American citizen, lost. Why? And that Pinellas County police officer said to me, "Jail is not a homeless shelter." I believe him. I really do believe him. But that's not how I felt in my 30s. Even though that was pretty much the only crime, and it's not even on my record. I mean, the only crime I committed in my 30s was that trespassing misdemeanor. Oh, I think I wrote a bad check too, and I had to go to court. It wasn't actually like put on a record either. I wrote one bad check at a grocery store. I wrote a check for $40. I don't even know what grocery store it was. Probably Winn Dixie, ironically, and it bounced. And I didn't have the money to take care of it, so I had to go to court for that. But in my 30s, that was it. One bad check and a trespassing. I didn't want to leave though. The girl in jail says, "You're here for a misdemeanor. You need to get the hell out of here." And I said, "Where am I going to go? I have nowhere to go. I'm homeless." She said, "I don't care if you're homeless. This is stupid. You're just going to live. You're going to live and die in jail because you're homeless." So I talked to them, and they said, "Yeah, your court date's got a misdemeanor, blah, blah, blah." Went through the process, got out, and I was homeless. There I was, back to being on the sidewalk, lost, nowhere to go. I didn't know what to do. That's a whole different story. I could write a whole novel on that adventure. Where was I going to go? I mean, anyway, I'm scared. I'm 54. I just on the 22nd I turned 54. There was no big birthday surprise with a bunch of balloons and candles and happy birthday songs and nothing like that. I pretty much knew since Christmas was the same. I was all alone on Christmas. I knew that 54 was not going to be a big deal. Uh, I mean, my good friend George did bring a little cake and a card and gave me a some money, which was very sweet. The only person who acknowledged my birthday, besides a few people with a phone call or an online hello. Besides that, yeah, that was it for my 54th birthday, and it's no big deal. 54 is nothing. It's not like I'm 12 or 15 or 18 or 21 or even the big 50 anymore. But what is significant to me about 54 besides these gray hairs and these wrinkles, besides that, what's significant about 54? I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm finally truly, truly honest about how scared I am. I'm not scared of dying at 60 like my mother. I'm not scared of being alone. I'm not scared of even being depressed. I've learned how to deal with loneliness, depression, and I've come to terms with the fact that my mother died at 60. I've come to terms with that. But I'm 54. If I die like my mother, I've only got 6 years left. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I'm not exactly like my mother. If I live past 60, I've got that's what I'm actually more scared of living past 60. I'm more scared of that. I mean, I'm 54 and I don't have the courage that I had in my 20s. I don't have the courage that I had in my 30s. I don't have the courage that I had in my 40s. That was 3 decades. Yeah, that was 3 decades. 30 years of being brave. I'm not brave in my 50s. I'm not brave at all. I'm scared. I'm scared of being homeless. I'm scared of going to jail. I've been homeless. I've been to jail, and I have a reason to be scared. I'm scared of you know, people wanting to hurt me. I've been hurt many times. Been disappointed. Disappointed is a minor word compared to hurt. Hurt. Physically and emotionally hurt. Someone punching you in the fucking face. Somebody spitting at you, your worst fucking nightmare, even if it's a lie. I'm talking about hurt. I am scared. I'm scared of homelessness. I'm scared of jail. And I'm scared of mean, fucking evil people. I am scared. And 30 years of courage. The crazy fucking things I did. Single mother, college degree, camping in the jungles of Georgia, hitting the sidewalk like a homeless warrior, taking a Burger King job after obtaining a college degree. Look, I've done a lot of brave things, but I'm 54 and I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't think anybody cares. Why would they care about a 54-year-old? They don't care about a 60-year-old or a 64-year-old or a 74-year-old. Why would they care about me?